Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Straight Talk Podcast with Professor Red Pill. I've got Adam Maxwell here from Liberty Rising again. We're going to go over mega economics or MAGAnomics or whatever you want to call it, and the decline of the Western economies. So, welcome to the show, Adam.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, man. So we're discussing today about Trump's new economic policies, and they called it Biden economics last term. I am terming the word for this next 4 years as meganomics, and we're gonna break this down today, and we're also gonna cover Alex Jones's Infowars shutdown today, and some things about X. I guess there's some celebrities talking about leaving the country. I mean, leaving X. So we'll get into that as well. So first, starting off with the current economic threshold of the United States, as we've been discussing over the last year, that the economy has been tanking. We've been dealing with hyperinflation, QE to infinity, and beyond, and funding all of these foreign wars and now Israel conflict, and then the money just keeps printing and going burr. So what do you have to what are your comments on that?
Well, this is not unique to the United States. This is all across the West, and it's not unintentional, and it's not to blame on any one administration. It's not Biden to blame. It's not Trump to blame. They're both to blame for sure, but it's the system itself that's designed to behave like this, and it's all across the Western world, and it's fundamentally like how the system's designed. It's a counterfeit system designed to blow up and to enrich the rich and impoverish the poor.
Yep. So like it's just the same old, same old. Because yeah, we're going to discuss on another podcast. I guess tomorrow we'll be going over the Trump's current picks and how he's supposedly going to drain the swamp, so to speak. But yeah, I mean it's just basically globalist putting these different you know people into power, and it's just more of the same, basically, right? More or less.
Yeah, it's system politics, system economic systems, like a monetary system. Drain the swamp by perpetuating it. It's more like a marshland reserve.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get into. I'm just going to go ahead and get into the what I was going to discuss. I talked about this previously on the Telegram group. I'm going to go ahead and present it now. Where's my? There it is. Here we go. So this map basically is going over the economic threshold. I'm going to back out a little bit so you can. So the global energy prices we're dealing with under Trump's administration. Part of his mega economics is that he wants to restart the Nord Stream pipeline, restart the what is it called, the Keystone pipeline, get energy independence in the United States and in Western economies. And yeah, I mean, like I said, this is his game plan, so to speak, that he's been running on that platform and what he's been discussing. So when we look at the global energy prices here from the map, we can see that, and of course this is data from 2022, so it's not updated, so it's actually substantially higher than this right now. But what we see in the United States right now is that electricity prices are at 0.16 on average in the United States. I guess this is kilowatt hour. Yeah, kilowatt hour in US dollars. And we see that, like I said, things that are in deep purple or deep blue, these are generally higher cost for energy prices. And, in perspective, there's some countries that just aren't mentioned here. I guess it's because they don't really have the data points on that, but it's not that important for today's discussion. Mostly, we're looking at like oceanic with Australia, New Zealand, North and South America, obviously Russia, Central Asia, Africa, and the most important, the European Union. So, what do you see there, Mad Max, good old Adam Maxwell? What do you see in Europe with the prices and the differences between prices in Russia and Canada and the United States? What's the biggest thing that basically is pointing out here to the viewers here?
Well, energy is fundamental to most economies, and it's primarily a factor of competitiveness. And it it reverberates through the economy. So all prices are kind of affected by it because even, the food you buy at the grocery store is impacted by the cost of transportation, which is affected by global energy prices, the store rent, which is, the electricity, keeping the lights on, all these factor into prices. But uh, primarily it's competitiveness of industry. So what you find is with the sanctions on Russia and the ballooning energy prices in Germany, there's there it's at a it's almost at a peak of deindustrialization. The collapse in Germany is escalating. The government's fallen. I think they're having new elections, and most of their key, Germany's been an industrial powerhouse for centuries, but they're moving away from coal, and of course they've shut down their nuclear energy, and then they've sanctioned Russia, and then uh,
Correct. And
allegedly
there's a war in
Zelensky
Ukraine,
blew up
and
Nord
Russia,
Stream.
which yeah, which is causing the Nord Stream pipeline to shut down and other types of
So that
economic
was blown
factors.
up. And then it's mostly sanctions. I mean,
Correct.
instead of being subsidized by cheap Russian energy prices, they're having to ship in the more expensive LNG gas
Oh well, let me bring
from
that map up
America.
as let me bring that map up as well.
And
So
so
that you
what
mentioned
that means is that the main manufacturers, it's not competitive to work in Germany. They're exporting them elsewhere. Lots of them are moving to America because it's cheaper to produce. So the prices are better. They can sell and compete. Uh, so not only so there's two factors when you're looking at energy: the cost of production and then the cost of living. And in both cases, more expensive energy is not a good thing.
yeah, this is correct. Like I said, I've been going through a couple of the maps that we're be presenting, but yeah, I mean, you can see that the huge difference and disparity between these economic models or these the data points. So quick reference here. What tell people your background because I'm not sure people that have been following us for a while. We have a lot of new subscribers recently, and give them a little bit of your education, your academic background, and why you're relevant to the discussion today, if you will.
Sure, my background's in quantitative economics, in macroeconomic analysis was one of my more favorite, and game theory and economic development. And then I went into computing and technology off from there. So my background is in economics, um, particularly on a macro scale, but delving, of course, into into the precise systems that conglomerate towards the aggregate scale. I live in Europe and have been, focused a lot on geopolitics lately and intelligence matters. So I think I have a pretty good uh, familiarity with the conditions over here.
That's outstanding. I'm glad to have you, and like I said, the viewers of the Straight Talk podcast are happy to have your expertise as well. Like I said, because these are very complex issues that we try to simplify as much as we can. As both being academics, me being a professor of leadership and policy studies, and then your economic background. We've had several economists on the show so far that are consistent contributors to the information we're presenting to you guys. Just want to keep, like I said, this is a very academic podcast, but it's still fun at the same time. We try to keep it funny and upbeat and try to keep it relevant. So going back to the electricity prices here, I think let me see if I got the bigger. Yeah, I got the bigger picture up for you guys, the bigger slide. So looking at it, like I said, we're looking at the European Union that's in this bubble here, and a bubble is the best way to describe it, so to speak. But more or less, like I said, you can see with electricity prices, as you mentioned previously, it's very important for economic output, for manufacturing, and for overall GDP growth, innovation. And we can see that the cost difference is just between when you look at just China and the United States alone it's nearly, and this is from 2020, as you know, from Bloomberg, September 2022. So this is, there's been 2 more years of this the stagflation of energy costs that have been rising significantly since Biden economics and since the Biden administration has taken over. So the United States in particular is 16 cents per kilowatt hour from this data point, comparably to China at 8 cents per kilowatt hour, and then India was 7 cents. Now, this is very significant because it indicates that in the United States, it's double the cost in energy to produce any type of consumer goods, manufacturing goods, as well as shipping and receiving. So bringing consumer products, refined goods, and even food and different types of imported goods that we bring into the United States from various ports. That's significantly impacted by the cost of electricity, because of, obviously the automation, like with Elon Musk's Teslas, and that's why China has significantly been able to um, outcompete Elon Musk and Tesla over the last like 4 years, because China's ability to manufacture at a much more efficient, a much cheaper economic rate due to the energy differences. So now the question that we have is how is this going to change with if the war in Ukraine is there's a peace deal. Russia begins to start sending energy, more affordable energy to Europe. That's maybe a pipe dream at this point. We don't know. But more importantly, the United States with Keystone and other types of energy independence, as Trump is trying to portray. What's your thoughts on that, Adam? Oh, got Adam back to stage. Sorry.
No, it's my
Yeah.
fault. So sorry, I just missed the last 20
Oh yeah.
seconds
No,
there.
I'm just saying, like, the main thing is like how is Trump's new economic policies, the meganomics, how is it going? How do you see this impacting manufacturing in the United States and global trade, in particular between China and the United States? Do you think that under Trump's administration that he'll be able to get the energy costs low enough to where the United States will actually be able to be a viable competitor with like China? What are
Well,
your
you
thoughts?
you've got two main issues here. One is the demand side, the size of the US market and its consumer power, and the second is the industrial supply side of the USA. And within that, there's all sorts of various factors. The first thing that Joe Biden did when he got into office was he signed 30 some executive orders day one, one of which was to torpedo this Keystone pipeline between the US and Canada. And it massive, not only has it really hurt US energy competitiveness and its supply of energy and oils, etc., but it also adds enormous uncertainty to the industrial projects in the USA, because this pipeline had been in the works for like a decade. Obama was working through it, Trump was working through it, and it gets to almost almost to the degree of completion. It should have been complete over the past 4 years, and Biden just day one stroke of a pen shuts it all down. So this adds uncertainty to energy producers. They no longer wish to invest because it can just be shut down because of the green agenda. So as a result of Biden's policies, this being one, energy production in the USA has been reduced, and as a you reduce the supply and the price goes up because it's more scarce. Um, and in fact, there's a whole discussion on the relationship between the United States and energy independence, but uh, I'm not so I'm not so as informed in the entire history of that. I do know that under Trump, the USA was able to once again become energy independent, only to then lose it under Joe Biden. And I believe he also spent the strategic oil reserves, which were filled up during COVID. He spent them in order to subsidize the energy prices throughout the USA. So these prices that you're showing
This
in
is true, and you
America.
you can see from the data point here that when he did that, this is from 2022. You can see the gasoline prices in America was at $4 a gallon, I believe. Yeah, $4 a gallon compared to China at 4.7, and that was part of like the release of that strategic oil reserve in order to get
Right.
gas prices down. Yeah, it's much
Yeah.
different now because gas is going up and down. It's staying consistently around that price point. I think $4, but I think Russia is injecting some gasoline and petrol and LNG into China, so that this may be slightly different by now. I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
Y- Yes, and they're so Russia is developing their energy export pipelines to China, pivot to the east, uh, and the one of the advantages of Russia China is they are openly one party authoritarian regimes, whereas the USA has a kind of schizophrenic uni party with two wings, where one party where Joe Biden, one man, can just come in and stroke of a pen cancel these investment projects. And this is, is a massive deal. And why did he do it? I can only assume the
Well,
green agenda.
this pool like of the particular like executive order as they call it. This is started in the George W. Bush administration under the guidance of Dick Cheney, who was the VP at the time, who was actually really running the government. Um, but more or less, like I said, this began during the GW or the George, the Bush administration, and each administration thereafter. So the Obama administration, followed by the Trump administration, started utilizing this executive order, and it became kind of the norm, so to speak, in in political theater, if you will, or policy. And like I said, you could quote Obama, you could quote Bush, and they both have made references to the fact that it's rather difficult to pass policy because of Congress's inability to basically come together and pass legislation. So they've been utilizing that executive order ever since, so to speak.
So democracy is inconvenient. We resort to dictatorship.
110% yes. And this was created by the most authoritarian government in the United States in the recent history, the Bush administration. And it went from there onward, yes. As well as the printing
So
press, too. Each president since Bush has been pissing money away or printing the dollar. And each president thereafter has been outspending each other. So Obama outspent Bush, Trump outspent Obama, Biden outspent Trump, and then now Trump's going to outspend himself again. So I mean, we discussed this previously with Lupiter, who's on sabbatical, will return at a later time. But yeah, it's kind of a running meme, so to speak.
especially with the $1 trillion um, principal just on the debt interest, $1
Oh,
trillion
100%.
dollars per year just being
Yeah.
spent servicing the debt. Um,
And this is more or less, excuse me, this is more or less like why, like, you saw recently with Elon Musk talking about draining the swamp or like I guess using a melee anarcho-capitalist approach and trying to eliminate certain unnecessary agencies and overspending or pointless spending within the government. I don't know how this will work or if there will be any fruition to it. I don't know if legally if Trump is able to actually do anything with these administrative agencies since they've been enacted and Congress basically allots the budget for these agencies. He might be able to defund them through Congress, but it is what it is. We're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen.
yeah, we can get into the analysis there, and we can wait and see also. But just going
Right.
back to the energy, like what's the dynamic competitiveness of the USA regarding energy? I think China does not have oil. Europe does not have oil. A bit in the
This is correct.
Scandinavian
Other
countries.
than other than Scandinavia and Ukraine, there's really no oil or LNG within Europe, other than maybe Turkey, the like I said, Black Sea region, and
Black
Scandinavia, of
Sea,
course. Right.
Mediterranean, they're looking,
Mhm.
and the North Sea. There's some oil fields up there, but
Right.
mostly there is no, Germany does not have oil. They have
No, they
coal.
never did. Even
Switzerland
during
does not have
that.
oil.
Yeah, yeah,
Romania,
and that was
there's
the
a
problem.
small some oil
Yeah,
fields in Romania.
right, and that was the problem during World War II with Germany, is that they didn't have access to oil, and they were heavily dependent on the United States for a lot of oil, especially for their planes. Apparently, their jet fighters, certain types of jet fuels that they just couldn't get this stuff. They were heavily dependent on the United States, and Japan as well was dependent on Southeast Asia, as you can see here in the chart. Mostly in the Indonesian area. That's where a lot of the light sweet crude oil is located in the planet. So they have the highest percentage of it apparently in the world. So that was part of the reason why Japan, I guess, attacked Pearl Harbor. That was a whole conflict there, is because the United States was embargoing Japan and preventing them from being able to access oil rights to the Southeast Asia, and trade embargoes, trade wars, things of that nature.
So the long-term dynamic competitiveness revolves around oil. It's fundamental. Russia is the wealthiest country on earth in terms of natural resources. It's the largest country. It's got plentiful gas, plentiful oil, plentiful gold reserves. There's so much primary resources. China, they have they don't have this oil, but they have a good friend and ally in Russia, and they're building these pipelines. The USA and Canada does have the potential for energy independence, but they don't seem to have been able to do this, mostly through the Democrat green agenda and these internal politics. The same thing in Germany. They've shut down their nuclear energy. They refuse to use coal. They've embargoed Russia, or Russian energy specifically. And so now they're reliant on the USA, which is more expensive. They need to invest. So this is kind of the supply side problem of energy. Russia has lots of energy. China has Russia. They need to develop those pipelines. The USA needs to invest in its energy, but these investments just they don't take 2 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years. They can be longer than 10 years to build these projects. And there's such uncertainty in the USA that they're not due to the politics that it's not a place that people want to invest enormous sums of money into to build these massive investment projects when they can just be shut down with no debate, no congress, no democracy, through a diktat of especially a Democrat. You then have the other side of the equation, which is the consumer market. The USA has China is the largest economy in terms of purchasing power, and I think it's either catching up or even eclipsed the USA in terms of nominal GDP. But the USA is the strongest market because they have 4 times less people than China. Um, and so the other way to do it is what Trump's been uh, campaigning on, which is protectionism. We're going to if you want us to buy your products, you need to come to the USA, increase our supply, reducing the costs of things and internally. And otherwise, we're going to tariff you, and then so goods will be more expensive to sell to the USA, therefore less competitive. Therefore, people are going to buy more American products. And this, arguably may be necessary considering the past 25 years, 30 years, there's been a deindustrialization of America and the West, and it's all gone to China, it's all gone to Vietnam. And this is a key part as to why they're able to outcompete um, consumer goods, because they have all the manufacturing, they have all the industry. What do we have? Oh, we're going to shift to a service-based economy. Okay, most of those jobs are fake. Most of your services suck. I don't need another advertising PR firm what I want to heat my home, I want a better car, and I want nice clothes and furniture.
Yeah, more or less. Like the thing is when we're looking, like I got the map up for the pipelines that you were talking about or referring to, but more or less the thing is that Russia has the energy for Central and East Asia as well as Kazakhstan as well, and those pipelines, a lot of those pipelines are going to Georgia right now as far as gas. Iran as well has energy independence, and the situation is that Trump, like I said, the American administrations going back to Bush GW was to basically push NATO to Russian border to try to gain energy independence for what for Western Europe as well as its allies in Asia, Central Asia, and so on and so forth. And it has backfired quite substantially. So those wars have cost trillions of dollars, thousands of lives, of American lives, and at the end of it, Russia is still around. They still have energy independence. They're trading even more so now with their neighbors than they were previously since those wars, those energy wars began. And now we're in the last stages of that energy war with Ukraine war, the Ukraine conflict in Syria, which these are basically the last ditch efforts of the Western policies for the 20-year policy of energy wars. And these are coming to a conclusion as Trump has said he's going to withdraw troops from Syria. He's going to end the war in Ukraine. And that pretty much leaves nothing left. You know what I mean? It's just basically China and Iran and Gaza. And we won't get into those particular conflicts tonight, but that's for a later podcast. But I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, you say that Iran has energy independence. That's true, but I've got a friend in Iran. He says it's cheaper than water.
Yeah, of
Sometimes
course.
it's
Yeah,
free.
exactly. And we're looking at the tabs here, the data points. Like it's literally -1. It's like basically free. You know,
Oh yeah, yeah. Oil,
same in
like
Turkey.
oil, gas in Iran.
Yeah.
It's not like oh, I really need gas money. USA is kind of an idiom. In Iran, they'd be like, what is gas money? Like, does that mean you're broke? Well, like even it means you got nothing.
Yeah, because you're looking at the map here with gasoline prices with petrol, it's at 0.20 cents a gallon. That's insane. It's even lower than Saudi Arabia at $2.30 a gallon. And I mean, it's interesting, like I say, because like even in Georgia, going back to natural gas prices, because it's Kazakhstan, which basically provides most of the energy independence for Georgia, or most of the energy for Georgia as far as natural gas is concerned. It's literally free almost. It costs nothing in Georgia for energy. And the same in Kazakhstan, I believe the same as Iran. It's like -1 or like a penny per kilowatt hour in natural gas. I mean, it's just they use you can tell the difference between Western economies and the United States with the use of natural gas versus energy is and like these natural gas producing countries that everything is run on natural gas in these countries versus in the United States they're using more electrical appliances and even the inefficiency of electric central heating and things of that nature because it's more expensive for natural gas in a lot of areas than it is if you use energy in that regard.
Yes.
Uh,
And
so, anyways,
the
go
most
ahead.
expensive place for energy is Europe.
Correct, and we can see that from the data points from these data points that we're pointing out. The electricity prices are unsustainable. The natural gas prices are unsustainable, and the cost for gasoline is unsustainable. I mean, that's completely red or completely orange. I mean, this is I mean, does it not look like the European Union is going to last any much longer? Like, as I was saying, collapse 2025 for the United States, but for the EU, do you think the EU could possibly collapse next year economically? Do you think that's plausible?
I'm much more in the nothing ever happens camp, especially on these big scales. Or if
Uh-huh.
things do happen, it takes place over a much longer period.
Mm.
Or even, I like to say that we are experiencing the collapse. So when I talk about the
I think we're
deindustrialization
in
of
the
Germany,
collapse. I personally
right,
think we're in the collapse right
right.
now.
So I don't think the collapse is a distinct event where the EU will dissolve overnight like the Soviet Union did,
Mm.
even though it is the Union of Europe.
Right.
Um, but what you see is people are struggling. What you see is people are leaving. People are struggling. There's more poverty. People aren't having children. Um, the jobs aren't there. The people are in poverty, and things aren't getting better. Whenever I speak to taxi drivers around here to kind of gauge what the local opinion is, and
And you're speaking about
recently
Bulgaria, correct? Because that
I'm in Bulgaria,
Bulgaria.
yes.
Right. Right. Okay.
And recently, I've been using unlicensed taxis. So they're just ordinary people that, you know, want to get paid for driving
Like
around the
Uber or
city.
Lyft kind of thing, right? More or less.
Even less regulated,
Oh, okay.
even less licensed. Yeah, and I've asked people for years, what do you think of how do you think the country's going? How do you think are things getting better or worse? And 9 out of 10 people are just pessimistic. And I used to think like, man, they're really glum when I was an optimistic youth. But as I look around and learn more, I'm like, no, that these guys are right. Things are not getting better. There is points of progression here and there, but generally, like prices are going up, wages aren't rising, uh, jobs are not being created or are shutting down. Um, wars, sanctions, prices going up, and people are suffering, and it's not things aren't improving and progressing as one would hope and expect they should. So that to me is a sign of collapse, of decay, of things aren't getting better, and that's how the collapse begins, or that's how the collapse is. It's the transience of it.
The next question is how do the people view of a Trump election? Have you talked to anybody about Trump being elected in Eastern Europe? Are people more optimistic? Do they think that Trump is going to change things and bring energy independence and lower cost for overall energy into Europe at all? Have you talked to anybody about that?
Um, the, Europe generally seems to hate Trump because most Europeans are leftist socialists and just system pigs, or system zoo animals. But out here in the further the further east you go, perhaps the more especially socially based one that may say. So there's generally better sentiments here for Putin, for Trump. However, I haven't heard anybody talk about Trump bringing better energy independence to Europe through exports of LNG. It's more, I'm hopeful that Trump will finish the conflict in Russia. We can end the sanctions and get the cheaper energy from Russia, because that's the way that the European continent's been set up, and that's how European manufacturing has been competitive. Why ship LNG, which is more expensive, ship it across the Atlantic Ocean, get into the ports, and then turn it into energy and take that around the system when you can just get it directly from Russia, pipeline just over the land,
Yeah.
um, from the source to here, and you do what you want with it. It's so much cheaper. It makes way more sense. But due to the politics, the sanctions, the EU says we in Brussels, they say, we hate Russia. We're not going to buy their oil, even though they still have been. And actually, it's been increasing to record levels. But they might buy Russian energy through India, who pay a markup. So it's more expensive. You're buying it anyway. But it's all political because they want to beat the Russians in Ukraine. They want, they
Yeah,
want, they want.
exactly. I mean, the final question I have before we move on to the next subject is: do you believe that the prices of energy in Europe is going to decrease under a Trump administration? Do you see an economic rebound in Europe under Trump?
As I said, when you're looking at supply issues, it's not really something that you can change in months. Even years is a short time frame for, you know, massive like this. So the only way that that could occur, which is very plausible, is if Trump ends the war in Ukraine, ends the sanctions, and I forget the word, where they're trying to economically isolate Russia, refusing to trade with them. I think there's a word beginning with D there, where decouple. We got to decouple with the Russian energy. Was like, well, that can't occur. So if you're willing to have peace with Russia and buy their energy, then that would immediately bring down the prices of energy and make Europe more competitive. However, you know, and I think Trump is the best candidate for change to do anything there. He's, the most powerful Western individual leader, and he's the only one and he's a deal maker at the end of the day. But the problem with Washington, not Trump, but Washington and Brussels, is that Washington owns Brussels. The European Union is a vassal state under the global American empire. And it's in Washington's interest for Europe to not purchase from Russian energies because Washington considers Russia and Moscow an enemy who they wish to strategically defeat. And what happens is Washington says you can't buy from Russia, you're going to buy from us at twice the price or whatever. And so it's in the interest of Washington to perpetuate Brussels, and they go through the European Union. They have control over the member states through funding, through their own sanctions and whatnot. I mean, lots of it's government corruption, right? Because, for example, in Bulgaria, the EU pays the salary of the government ministers, and they pay the salaries and they pay for lots of investment projects. Goes through the EU. And those investment projects, the money gets embezzled. Between 30 and 70% gets embezzled by the government ministers. And so when Brussels says we're not going to give you the money, it means that all the government members of parliament aren't going to make fortunes off the political system. So basically when Brussels says jump, the government members say how high because they're the ones getting paid directly. So you've got all these problems of incentive. Would Trump benefit Europe? Well, he could. He could work out some trade deals. He could end the conflict with Ukraine and reduce or eliminate the sanctions with Russia and work out these trade deals. And again, the European Union is a vassal to the global American empire. That's really the main way Trump can make a difference. But you have the same issue on a global foreign level, global international geopolitics, as you have with an internal domestic politics with Trump and the swamp and Washington. Trump may say, here's what I want to do. But if he's unable to successfully navigate the politics and power of it all, it's ultimately ineffective. So I'm cautiously hopeful. I'd like to say optimistic, but I'm not. I'm cautiously hopeful that perhaps Trump will will try and achieve what he's promised to do. But after the first Trump term, I enjoyed it. I like Trump personally. I think he's a funny guy. I think he's very entertaining, and he's my favorite U.S. president. At the same time, in a while. At the same time, Trump says one thing, and then he bans bump stocks, and does so in a manner that criminalizes hundreds of thousands of Americans overnight, as opposed to grandfathering in like they did with the shortened barrels. So Trump may say one thing and do another. You look at the Trump picks. I'm not so happy with Marco Rubio as Secretary of State.
And yeah,
Um,
we're going to get into that in tomorrow's podcast. But yeah, exactly. I know what you mean.
so I'm cautiously hopeful that Trump may make a positive impact. But at the end of the day, do I trust that Washington will improve Europe? I hope so, but I don't have expectations that definitely these things are going to improve.
Interesting. Yeah, and I'm coming to a similar conclusion looking at the data and seeing the people that he's appointing. But we'll cover that tomorrow. We're gonna have a podcast tomorrow with as many people from the Telegram group. Links in the description. We're gonna have kind of a. It's gonna be informative, but it's also gonna be entertaining to say the least. That being said, I'm gonna go to the next topic here that a lot of people are wondering about that happened today recently. Apparently, Alex Jones's Infowars was put up for auction and was sold, and apparently the Onion has won the bid for Infowars asset. Uh, I don't know many of you that actually follow Alex Jones. I saw a short period of his last broadcast today, and apparently they shut down the Infowars website and several websites today almost immediately after they gained access to or they acquired the assets of Infowars. And Alex Jones is like, well, he's going to go move his studio to another location and go with his name, Alex Jones Show. I don't know how successful he's going to be with that. Who knows? But I mean, it is what it is. I definitely, we covered this in previous podcast about the big tech crunch and the fact that a lot of these platforms, they have a lot of fake accounts, a lot of, I guess they call it the fake internet theory. So there's a lot of influences that we're seeing on CensorTube, on Facebook, even here on Rumble, that we're like, how do they get this many views? And that they're getting million views, but they're only getting like 12,000 likes and like 100 comments. It's like, does that make sense? The algorithm, does that really make sense? So how many people are actually watching these people? How much are they actually bringing in revenues? Are they really already bankrupt and they're just pretending that they have money and they're just grifting off of advertising revenue? What's going on? I don't know.
It's called the dead internet theory.
That's what it is. Yeah, sorry.
And I think it was reported that Infowars was achieving a viewership, or I think a regular viewership, but of 10 million viewers. Now, again, how many of that is botted? And there is lots of evidence to support the dead internet theory. And I recall one influencer I follow that said he went and looked at, for example, maybe the Groiper show and looked at their views and their likes, and then compared it to other contemporary podcasts and shows across the same site, Rumble, for example, and said there is a clear anomaly in the statistics here, which heavily implies botting of likes and views and comments, well, usually likes and views.
Yeah, I mean, because there's entire click farms in India and China. I mean, we look at like the cost of energy; it's pretty affordable. So I mean, they could easily just hire teams and teams of like people. And we've seen videos of it. I haven't posted on here, but if you Google it, or search for it, you could see that there are like literally just warehouses full of Chinese people and Indian people with like racks and racks of iPhones and technology, tablets, and they're just clicking on stuff to click likes and views and stuff like that. That people, influencers, can actually pay to get viewers. I mean, you look at our channel, and we have currently in Rumble, we're at 53 followers, and we're consistently getting the same amount of views. That is actually upticking. You can see that with the amount of people that are viewing, and our likes are going up with the organic growth. So you can tell that every view that we're getting is organic. Every like we're getting is organic. Every comment is organic. And you look at like these other influencers that are established alternative media outlets, And it's like I don't know if it's just that they're paying these platforms to push their agenda or their sorry their channel, and they're just making money on the back end from from ad revenue, which is what I think that Shapiro's doing with his media platform, and the websites and the different influencers he's promoting. It seems like he's literally paying, and we've seen that where we've actually seen evidence where Ben Shapiro is paying Google to actually push his influencers in the algorithm, and he's selling advertisement space for those clicks. So it's technically kind of fraudulent when you think about it. What do you think on that?
Yes, it is fraudulent. It's fraudulent, manipulative, fake, cronyism. It is what it is. It's corrupt. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm not a fan. Like you can buy you can buy 10,000 Telegram followers for like $50 or so, and all of a sudden you have one of the largest channels in on the application. But so what? Like you're not getting reactions, you're not getting comments, you're not actually reaching people. You're getting views in the tens or hundreds. You're not, it's only organic matters that matter. Now, when you're at the scale of, an international influencer, Ben Shapiro, Nicholas Fuentes, then it's marketing, it's imaging, it's image, and people pay money for marketing. And if part of the marketing is, it's like wearing a fake Versace bag. It's like, yeah, it's, I'm so wealthy, I have a Versace bag. Oh, I'm so relevant and popular, I have tens of thousands more, hundreds of thousands more views and subscribers than actually follow me. Um, I think everyone at a certain level does it. I don't blame them. uh, I just think it's not um, integral behavior conduct. I wouldn't engage. I wouldn't do it. I hope. I don't do it now, and I hope that, But if the incentives are there, if it makes a big difference that you are seen to be having all these views, and that brings in new advertisers, and that increases the perception of relevance. I completely understand why it's done.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, the question that I have is like, what do you think is going to happen with Alex Jones and like his future in social media? Do you think
Do you
that
want to
he's
talk
going?
about Alex Jones or Infowars?
Uh, Either way, like Infowars is done. It's been bought. It's been bought by the Onion. They're going to make a parody to it and make fun of Alex Jones and all of the different conspiracy people and social media. But that's done. As far as Alex Jones, like I said, the thing is like the question I have is what do you think is going to happen with Alex Jones? All of these different social media influencers that seem to be, like I said, a lot of them. Even Gerald Salente is saying that he's being shadow banned. He's also a regular guest on the Infowars channel, and a lot of other, like even Stefan Malamu has been completely deplatformed since the big purge. I've been deplatformed, but I recently got my YouTube channel reinstated, so I'm not going to go back on YouTube. I'm done. We're on Rumble and stay Rumble, takeover. But as far as like I said, as far as the social media is concerned, it seems like the companies themselves, like Google, even X, like they're losing, purging membership, like viewership, and Facebook, especially like Meta, they're just consistently losing viewership and engagement. What do you think the future is going to be
One
with a lot of social media?
one thing that I remember seeing is I believe Donald Trump asserted that he would campaign for a bill of digital rights and a review of the monopolist practices of these social media companies, to say that if you are engaged in ideology, you are no longer a platform but a publisher, and therefore liable to um, lots of legal challenges. That there shall be a ban on federal agency collusion with these media companies, and an opt out for American consumers with their data, and all these sorts of things that sounded amazing if if they are implemented. So if Trump is able to achieve those things that he's promised on his campaign, which politicians don't have a great track record of doing, and Trump is included in that. He's no exception. But if those practices are, policies are turned into action, then it's a completely different story, and things may genuinely be better. And these are good ideas, good policies. I hope they're implemented. Otherwise, you know, again, it comes down to incentives. We don't live in a free market with private companies. Um, you have corporations who are incorporated with the state, and the state has a clear incentive to censor dissidents, or just people that red pill people that refuse to go along with the system thought. And people need to. There's kind of a cat and mouse game where Alex Jones was banned off YouTube. Maybe he went to Rumble. I'm not sure. Maybe he was banned off
Oh,
Rumble.
he's on.
Now there's
He was
Parler
banned
and
on
Gab, and
X. He was banned on X, a lot of different platforms. But he held his own website, Infowars, and then he had, so he's broadcasting on there, selling it for, selling things through his online store, and then they just went after that. So after they deplatformed him, they went after his website and it's completely like cut the
and they
jugular.
hit
Just
him.
that's it.
They hit him with $1 billion defamation
Yeah, yeah,
lawsuit.
yeah, yeah. That's in the article. But I mean, more or
And
less, yeah. Go ahead.
well, just during that investigation, I remember James O'Keefe, uh, OMG Media Group, whatever he's under now. They did an investigation into the FBI or someone saying, yeah, we're going after Alex Jones as a witch hunt, trying to get anything to stick. We are going to punish him because he's saying things we don't like, and that's what the cause of this defamation $1 billion legal suit's about. We want to shut him up. And so, after doing that and persecuting this political opponent, $1 billion lawsuit, which is absurd, they've caused him to shut down Infowars, and now, in as we're discussing, what is the future for Alex Jones? I would say that Alex Jones was Infowars, and most people follow Alex Jones, and Infowars was a brand. As you say, it's finished now. It's now owned by The Onion, which has some shady owners behind it. I posted about that,
Right.
and so I think Alex Jones, wherever he goes, if he is allowed to, I think he has the ability to perpetuate his online influence, the subject to additional persecution by the lawfare US authorities.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, the thing is he's on X now, and that's his main platform now. He gained a lot of followers. Musk is also supporting him apparently. So he's the, I guess he's the keystone, or the pinnacle of X. He's one of the main influencers on X, and he's on Rumble too. But apparently, like I said, he's changing platform, or he's changing names. He's going to go with his name, Alex Jones. I guess is Alex Jones Show, and the Infowars is done. Like any of the branding with that. So now he's going to start his own brand, and apparently it's not. I don't know. What I think personally is people that are going to follow him are going to follow him regardless. So they're going to follow him on X. They're going to follow him on the Alex Jones Show or whatever platform he tries to sell it as. But the thing is, I think those creditors are going to come after him there too. So I think they're going to be relentless to try to completely deplatform him forever, like they did with Stefan Mellemew. Stefan Mellemew cannot. No one will host his show anymore. Like literally, he has his website and he promotes it on LinkedIn and I believe he's on Odyssey, and I don't even think he's here on Rumble. I don't even think he's allowed on Rumble. He's been banned off of Facebook. He's been banned off of a lot of platforms. He was previously a contributor to the Alex Jones and the Infowars.
I
Uh,
I was
yeah,
banned off of Facebook. not,
yeah.
not so
I've
much
been banned.
even.
I've been banned. I got banned on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter on the same day, January 1st, 2000. I think it was 22. And that, like I said, the X reinstated me, and YouTube reinstated me. And I'm not going to go back to YouTube. I'm done. Like I just, that's great. Thank you for reinstating me, but unfortunately, I'm not going to use your platform. Sorry. I'll stick with Rumble. I'll stick with X, and that's about it. And then we have our Telegram group where we have discussion too. Those links are in the description for all that. I'm on
So
Twitch. We're on Twitch right now and LinkedIn, but that's about it.
yeah, I'm less familiar with with the legal math details of this defamation case. I remember that they said, Jones, you owe us $1 billion. We're going to take your cat. And he said, "You're not taking my fucking cat. You can take the company, fine, take the studio, but you're not taking the cat, government."
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what happened to that cat. I hope they didn't take it. They said, yeah, your cat's worth a few $100s at least. Um, so I don't know, was he sued in a personal capacity? Was
Yeah, they went
Infowars
after they went
sued?
after they went after him personally and his company, and he lost everything related to Infowars or anything like that's all been auctioned off. On he knows it now.
And then if he
So
establishes a new company that as a corporation that's a legally distinct entity,
yeah, yeah.
though he is the officer, um, what
Unless
claim would creditors
unless the
have over
company,
that?
I guess, unless the company is owned by another third party, in which case he's absolved from any type of doings. He's just an employee. But I think they can garnish his wages because if he owes any type of settlements, or they can motion for to garnish wages to pay back the settlement. I
I
think they went
mean,
after his house too. I think they
I
went
mean,
after his house. They went after his
when you're
car,
facing
everything.
$1 billion,
Yeah, that's a
in
lifetime of
defamation
employment.
damages,
Yeah.
can't you just bankruptcy seems like the obvious option to me.
I don't think it was. I
Uh,
don't think bankruptcy protection was allowed as part of the settlement, or as part of the yeah,
uh, of
yeah,
course, of course not. So yeah,
something like that.
I it seems like this insane. You said some words that upset me. $1 billion. I mean, that's yeah. It's
Yeah,
like, oh,
the whole purpose is to ruin him and deplatform him and send a message to other influencers that we can come after you and destroy you financially as well as politically and socially. So it's
I mean,
basically a witch hunt. It's a fishing expedition, a witch hunt. It's basically fascism at its finest, as you said previously, where in social media, state and corporate powers are coming together to deplatform, censor, and everything. It's fascism. It's American fascism at its finest, which the United States is. It's a fascist country. It's there's no way to explain around it. It's a fascist country, and now we have an authoritarian. We have a uniparty. I'm not saying that the Republican Party is going to be fascist. I'm not saying that they're going to continue this American fascism, but they have the keys. They have the keys to the kingdom. If they want to become completely fascist and completely, authoritarian, they have the uniparty now, so they can do whatever they want. I mean, they can literally just you know what I mean? Like this is what I posted on Telegram, on Straight Talk News. Was basically, be careful what you wish for, because it could be a nightmare in disguise. Because we have entrusted our lives, our politics, our social, everything, economy, everything into the Republican Party. We've went all in. We were at the casino. We put our chips in and we put them all in and say we're putting it all on red, and we're going to see where the chips lay, on a roulette table. Hopefully it hits red, and hopefully we have big winning and everything works out. But if we lose, we're going to lose big in the United States and the Western economies. That's basically the pinnacle of what this show's about today, this podcast today.
I mean, if I was Alex Jones and the government has destroyed everything I've built and said you owe us $1 billion with a B, uh, and you can't go bankrupt, and we're going to go after. You can't start a new company, and if you do, we're going to go after the weight. I would say, okay, well,
Leave the country.
what
Leave the country.
exactly?
Go
What
to
what
go anywhere
jurisdiction?
else.
If your business is online digital as
Yeah,
as it
leave
should
the
be,
country. Yeah, go to
then
Georgia. Republic of Georgia does have extradition with the United States. You could go to Russia. You could go to a lot of different countries. You can go to Ecuador. That's where
yeah,
Max Kaiser went. Max Kaiser's in Ecuador. Peter Schiff is in Puerto Rico.
which is the
What's her name?
USA.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's U.S. territory, but it's more difficult to go after them there than it is in the states. But
Well, I think it's just
redacted,
taxation is better there. Is
that's
probably why
basically
shifts there.
it's 100%
Yeah,
why it's there. But redacted, they fled to Spain because they try to go after them. Um, I guess with real estate dealings, they've been sued. So I mean, a lot of these influencers are leaving the United States. A lot of them are leaving in droves. And it's not the Democrats, the liberals or progressives that are leaving. It's the conservatives. It's the right wing conservatives that are leaving the United States and have been leaving the United States over the last decade. So I mean, that's what's interesting to me, and I want to get into the final topic of the day, being saying that, or basically what we've been talking about, and that's dealing with Elon Musk and X. Celebrities. This is from the Mirror. Companies and celebrities vowed to boycott X, formerly Twitter, to protest Elon Musk's hate promoting policies. So the Guardian, for instance, is saying that Guardian will no longer post on Elon Musk's X from its official accounts. And there's a full list of celebrities that have said they're leaving the platform. So I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like they talked about, oh, we're going to leave the country, but like they're not leaving the country. I guess they're leaving Twitter X instead of leaving the country because that makes more sense, I guess. But conservatives are leaving the United States. I'm telling you guys right now, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. I'm getting the fuck out of this country. So, like, a lot of conservatives, a lot of right wing conservatives are leaving. They have been leaving, and they're probably not going to be coming back, even under a Trump administration. To be honest, I mean, what's your thoughts on this?
it's not a Democrat versus Republican thing. It's
State
the
first,
the
right?
un it's a state thing. Yeah, it, it's the United States of America. It's this federal Leviathan blob that I left my country for this reason. Like the
Yeah,
government came after me.
you're in
It
exile
was
too.
the left wing like the left wing regional government of the conservative is their name, national government. Now the left wing have the national government. It makes no difference. They're the same. It's the same state. And like I said, I'm not going to accept this. Like this is completely crap. So I left because I refuse to be treated like that. Now
Right.
I'm in a kind of I'm in my own situation, but like it's something that
Once that ball goes
once
in
you've been
motion, other people start leaving, or you leave. Other people start following too, and then eventually, everybody's gone. But go ahead, sir.
once the boundary's been crossed, the what's the river? The that what's the river that seas
The,
across the Rubicon?
the,
Once they've
yeah, yeah.
crossed the Rubicon, violated your rights, lawfare, used their national system of governance to attack you, knowing that what they're doing is wrong and evil and just targeted against you, you're like, okay, well, I don't have any security here. This is crap. This is like this can happen again. Absolutely, there's no protection against it. And the same evil people are in charge. The only thing that I can think of is to go somewhere else where I'm either going to be appreciated or at the very least, not ruthlessly attacked by the government for no reason whatsoever. And what you have is, as you said, with the spending, which is a great indicator of the totality of the state. Um, every U.S. president since probably Reagan has
Going back
spent
to Reagan,
more,
yes. Yeah, yeah. They've outspent each other. We
spent
broke that
more and
down in
more.
the previous podcast. Yeah.
So so now that Trump's the executive, the presidential executive, what's going to change in America? Again, let's be cautiously hopeful, hopefully a lot, but realistically, maybe some window dressing. Maybe he passes this digital bill of rights that I mentioned. Maybe they go after, shut down the lawfare. They cut the federal government in half or in quarter. Right, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they're going to take the 400 and so federal agencies down to 100. Well, I'll see it when I believe it. I'll
Doubtful.
believe it when I see it. Yeah,
Do you know what?
I
Do you
don't
know what would
think he.
happen? Like, do you know what would happen if they laid off that many government employees? Because that would that like a limit going from 400 to 100 agencies, you'd be laying off like at least 100,000 employees, if not more. That's a significant. That would affect
Parasites.
your. Yeah, I mean
Parasites.
that would affect economies, local municipal county. That would affect states. That would affect cities, towns, especially like DC metro area and surrounding areas, Maryland and Virginia. I mean, that would
But
affect
it's
economies. Yeah.
but it's
Or
it's a parasitic counterfeit economy because it's not like they're
oh yeah, it's
these
fake.
people aren't producing value. They're extracting it, plundering it from American taxpayers, which everyone
100%.
feels, and
Yeah.
then it's being redistributed to the state employee parasites. So when you're cutting these jobs, it's not just cutting, not just cutting, cutting jobs. Oh no, how terrible! Like no, you're 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 spending less of the stolen money on jobs
Right.
that don't create value, in fact, harm value and whatnot. So I'm
Correct.
all in favor of cutting the federal government,
Oh,
not
100%.
just in half, not 25%, cut 99% of it, cut 100% of it if you could. But
Privatize everything if you could. Just make it a private company so it's more efficient, so the taxpayers get more for their money. I mean, that's what they do in Georgia. They basically eliminated as soon as Chuck really took over the Rose Revolution. He started eliminating unnecessary agencies like what Melee did. This is before Melee. Melee learned from Georgia, of course, and they started privatizing the postal service. They privatized everything. And they put it up for sale too. They like it's public auction. They're like, dude, anybody wants to take this as a private business, this part of the government, just contact the reserve, the IRS or whatever their revenue service, and we'll give you a price on it. You can take it over and just privatize it, and we'll just basically have you run it. For profit, so it's more efficient. So we don't have to fucking pay to like run this agency, and it works. It works in Georgia. You can see with the economic viability of the country and how quickly it's driven economically. It's a stable country. They have zero inflation. The economy is growing at a 10% GDP year to year. So I mean, it is what it is for a small country. It's unbelievably sustainable. So I mean, yeah, the United States is, in my opinion, I think the United States is done. I think that they will cut agencies, they will cut government spending, but it's not going to be for any type of like social justice or any type of like red pill rant or any type of mega movement or mega economics or whatever you will. They're going to be cutting this because the federal government is broke, and I've been saying the federal government is broke for the last year now. Every podcast, every telegram, I said federal government is broke. It is broke. The federal government, guys, it's fucking broke. They have no money. They are broke. Social Security is broke. Medicaid is broke. IRS is broke. They're all broke. They don't have money. The U.S. federal government is broke. Is broke as a joke, and they're going to be doing cuts and layoffs, not because of any stoic or any type of like libertarian or efficiency as Elon Musk calls it, but they're going to be doing layoffs and cutting of agencies simply because they don't have the money to pay these employees or keep these agencies going. That's the reality. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, no, spot on. Again, we can go into the Department of Government Efficiency and the legal structure, the potential shortcomings. We can leave it as we shall see for this show. But the this is the counterfeit system, the modern monetary theory. We don't need to balance our budget. We don't need to not even taxation surplus. We don't need to balance the taxation with the spending because we can just borrow, and print, so we can steal through inflation and theft. Sorry, and taxation. Uh, See, they're the same thing. So I get confused sometimes. They don't need your tax money; they print money. So taxation
Yeah,
is just to harm you and take money from you.
that's it.
Um,
Just theft. That's all it is. Yeah, they'll print more money. They'll borrow because you go back before they had a central bank and the federal government was borrowing money from wealthy one percenters. They would borrow money from the wealthiest people in the country, and they got tired of doing that. So they're like, "Why do I need to borrow from the wealthy 1%?" So they dictate policies, and I become their basically slave. Let's go ahead and just print our own money, and that way I don't have to worry about borrowing it from private citizens.
well, what you find with central banking is, for example, if they couldn't print their own money, if everyone had to pay for the government spending, that they couldn't do half their things because hey, we're going to go to war in Afghanistan. We need $1,000 from each of you per month, and people would say, absolutely, absolutely not. You're
Right.
not getting $1,000 from me every month to go fight in Afghanistan. I don't want that. But instead, they print the money, debasing the currency so that you are today and in the future paying that $1,000 a month.
One hundred
Um,
percent.
but you don't see it until later. And so, so
But
this is the nature of modern
one hundred
government
percent.
with it doesn't have limits, and it doesn't feel like it has any accountability. Uh, so they're operating broke. They're operating bankrupt. They're it's just by decree, by fiat, with smoke and mirrors, paper tiger.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't see, and like you look at like we was it WeWorks. They I guess Apple TV recently did a mockumentary or whatever. They did like a short series on it, and you look at like all of these social media companies, Google and Amazon and all these big tech companies that we've did a podcast on. They all run, they don't make money, they just basically make their money off the valuation, off of debt. So literally they run off of debt, and they rely on these valuations to go public so that they can get, they can basically get money from taxpayers, or not taxpayers, but investors. And then they take that money and they piss it away, and then they like borrow more money, and then they start different divisions to borrow more money and more money. It's basically like a what is it, a black hole or like a money pit, and you just keep throwing money in it, and it's like, when does it end? You know what I mean? Because I'm waiting, like I said, I'm waiting for this perfect storm that I think is going to happen next quarter, first quarter of next year, where these big tech companies are going to get evaluated and they're going to basically be bankrupt. There's going to be mass layoffs in the government. There's going to be mass layoffs in the private sector, predominantly in big tech, because they're not producing anything. A lot of these debts are going to be called by a lot of the bondholders that are outside the country, like China, like Japan, and they're going to be like, "Well, where the fuck's my money?" And if you don't pay me my money, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put warships in your harbors, and you're going to pay me that money, or you're going to give me land. You're going to give me Alaska, or you're going to give me Texas, or something like that. You know what I mean? That's what I think is going to happen under Trump administration. But we'll see what
Sorry,
happens.
who is defaulting on the debt in this hypothetical?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying like per se. America. I'll break it down this way: the United States will probably default on some debts to China, these bonds and stuff. The dollar will possibly crash. I think there'll be a 70% reduction in the stock market, as well as in housing, commercial, and personal real estate. Mass layoffs, tech companies going out of business, completely going bankrupt to zero. Kind of like what we saw with WeWorks. where now it's dog shit. Once they went public, now it's in the penny stocks. It had a $43 billion valuation, and it was probably worth maybe a few billion at most. The same, like I said, it's the same with Google and all these other these other companies, tech companies. It's all just bullshit. It's just smoke and mirrors. And I talked to a Wall Street guy, yeah, big trader on Wall Street, and I was asking him about this stuff, pre-COVID, like 4 years ago, and he was like, "Yeah, a lot of these multinationals, a lot of these corporations are held together by toothpicks and bubblegum. I mean, a lot of them are just basically house of cards waiting to collapse, and we don't give a shit because we're making money on the trades." So, when it does crash, we have a contingencies and we have a way to get out before the whole house comes down. And it is what it is. I mean, I'm not explaining the other way. Especially with the currency. I pointed out the Telegram this morning on the Telegram channel with links in the description. About the inflation from 2007 to 2024, and it literally doubled. Like, it went from your dollar per dollar went to 52 cents between 2007 and 2024. That means 52 cents in the dollar. Your buying power now is 52 cents on the dollar, and less than what, 10 years, 20 years, give or take. No, 10 years. Yeah, yeah, 20 years, almost 20 years. So you've lost more than almost half of your buying power in less than 20 years in the United States, due to these failed economic policies, money printer going burr, administrations outspending each other, each administration, and then, like I said, the Trump administration is going to outspend itself as well. What do you think? Well, and this will be closing remarks, by the way.
I think that you say failed economic policies. I think they're successful economic policies by the measure, by the measure that they are achieving what they were intended to achieve. They've not been productive, they've not been helpful to ordinary people. They have benefited the ruling classes, impoverished the poor, and enriched the riches. And
Yeah.
I am not a left-wing economist. I am perhaps one of the most extreme right-wing individuals. What I'm rallying against is not the free market here, but the state, which is you know, the public system. So you say, failed economic policies. I disagree with that. Yes, at some point we are in a bubble, we are in a counterfeit system, and at some point that's going to collapse. I don't think the USA will default on its national debt because it can just print more money. um, and there are worse states that are in worse financial positions, and again the US can just print more money. um, but at a certain point there, this fake system will meet reality, and things will go very bad very quickly. We're 10 times worse structurally, financially today than we were in 2007, 2008. Between 8, 10 times worse. And we were discussing this earlier, that and we're also 15, 20 years on from this 70-year experiment of fiat currency. So which is the system that we're talking about. Everything comes down to fiat, which is by decree, or by decree of authority, which is basically government. So when the markets collapse, it's going to be global. House of cards, a set of dominoes. If the USA collapses, Europe will collapse, and China will collapse, and the entire global system, and everyone will collapse. And this is why they're just printing money, and it should have collapsed. It should have collapsed in 2020, but they kept it all together by printing more money, keeping the system afloat, which further accelerated all these problems, but kicks it down the line. So the question is, when will it all blow up? No one
2025.
knows.
2025 next year.
He
That's what I'm
predicts
saying.
2025. I think not, but I have also said that things will not blow up until Russia wins in Ukraine. So once Russia wins in Ukraine, that is now a significant macro event which would which could enable, which could facilitate some major macro move. But I think when things do explode, it will be through a coordinated move by the powers that be, by the cabal. Like, these things are planned, which is why it requires some massive macro event like the release of the coronavirus lab in 2020, which they said, okay, we can just print and accelerate global totalitarian governance. We don't need to let this collapse. We can keep it going. When Russia wins in Ukraine, or however the conflict ends, um, that is now an excuse for something to occur. I don't believe we're going to see the collapse because I think they can still milk it for what it's worth and longer. Professor obviously has a different view than me, and that we'll see how it is. One thing's for sure: um, what you don't have in intangible stocks and even cryptos and gold, and it's much more important that what you have as assets, your car, your home, your land, your food. You should have tangible what you need for today and tomorrow, and be prepared for the potential, because it's very reasonable that Professor's prediction could come true, and if it doesn't, it's going to come at some point.
What you know? What I think, if you want my honest opinion, I think we're currently in the collapse. I think 2025 will be the realization that we've been in collapse for a year or more. Um, I think we're already in the collapse as we speak, and it's just a matter of recognizing and realizing that we are in an economic, social, and political collapse economically worldwide, predominantly in the United States and China. But I don't think it will be for the fruition of it will be realized until next year, first quarter, when you see it in the markets, when the market reacts to it, so to speak.
I mean,
You're going to see this
if
big spike, and then boom, big crash. As quick as it goes up, as quick as it's going to go down, like we're seeing now.
if if the Middle East blows up, that would be the ripe
Yeah.
excuse. I mean,
It's already
if
blown up. They're already at war. They're every
but
single Middle Eastern
there's a
country right now is
war,
at war.
but it's
Every single country right now in the Middle
managed.
East is at war.
It's like they haven't blown up Iranian energy infrastructure, who would then blow up
Yeah,
Saudi
they
energy
have. Yeah, they
infrastructure.
have. Yeah, they blew up a
There's been
nuclear enrichment plant. They've been bombing shit left and right in Iran, dude. Iran and Israel have been in a cold war for shit 1970s almost. I mean,
yeah, since the Iranian Revolution 79, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is what it is, bro. I mean, we Middle East. I've been in the Middle East 10 years. I did my time. I saw it with my own eyes. It's
I,
that area is fucked, man. Financially, economically, and socially, politically. I mean, it's unstable. It's not a stable area of the world. It hasn't been for a
so
long time.
I think if that region escalates and blows up, literally, then that would
You mean
and that could be
economically?
2025. No, no, I mean literally, is if a formal state of war is declared,
Oh,
a
okay.
thousand a
Yeah.
thousand missiles are being launched against Israel.
Oh, that already happened. You missed
Well,
that. That already
there was
happened.
100. There were dozens. If there's
so, you,
hundreds
so,
and
you,
thousands,
so you need like let's just say instead of like 10, let's say 50. It's like no, 50 is still not enough. I need to see 5,000. Then we'll see the collapse. That sort of thing. Come on, man.
I'm saying that, yeah, if there's 5,000 missiles launched to Israel in a week from Iran, then yeah, that would be the right excuse for, because America gets involved and the whole world, and America goes to war with Iran and Russia might get involved,
Yeah,
and
but wouldn't
that could collapse economies.
wouldn't a wartime economy actually boost the economy like what happened in World War II and World War One?
Uh, well, then you come back to the where we started, which is oil and
Right,
energy, and
right.
and if you blow up Saudi oil and Iranian oil and Saudi oil, and you block the Strait of Hormuz, and
Hmm.
then the entire global economy runs to a standstill,
Yeah,
and
that already happened.
everything's
That already happened.
mm,
They already blocked. They already blocked it. that was blocked a while ago. Yemen was firing rockets as well. That was destabilizing it.
That was to
There
Israeli-aligned.
were Saudi oil refineries that were hit, targeted, and blown up. The Yemenis did it, and so did the I believe Yemenis hit a target, and I had a friend that was working there in the area, and he told me right before it hit the news, he was like, "Yeah, we just fucking just had rocket power, just blow up our refinery. It's on fire right now." I'm like, "Oh shit!" He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna hear about it in the news here pretty soon." Yeah, they've been hitting shit left and right, dude. It's been ongoing. Like I said, it's on fire right now. That's why I left. I don't want to stay there because it's unstable, and the salaries have been going down for years. When I went to the Middle East like 10 years ago, I was making really good money. I was making, almost six figures. Last offer I got was for like 20, $30,000. It like dropped almost by two-thirds since I started working there. It shouldn't be dropping with the rate of inflation and the amount of oil, how high the cost of oil is. And now they're taxing their citizens with VAT tax. It should be well over six figures for the same job I was doing. Why would it go down? You know what I mean? So yeah, like I said, I'm sticking to my prediction. We're in the collapse, we're in the crash, and it won't be realized until first quarter next year. And then they'll say, well, we might be having a recessionary type system going on right now, and we're going to be dealing with it. And then Trump will print, you will start UBI, universal basic income, and then they'll start printing money, and the printer press will burr in Europe and the United States, and then it'll cause hyperinflation, and it will continue the bullshit, and eventually just it's like, we're in the collapse, man. That's all I'm gonna say. I think it's already here. But like I said, that's my closing remarks. If you want to close remarks, we'll go ahead and end the podcast, brother Adam.
No, I think it's been a great show. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Always glad to have you.
Um, Join us on Telegram at Gonzalo Lira Legacy Group. Join mine Liberty Rising Group, Liberty Rising Chat. All links are in the description. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you later.
All right, guys. Thank you. Like I said, join locals. $3 Rumble 3 gets you $3 off your first month's membership. Makes it $1. You can join by clicking the join button underneath the Rumble, or you can go to locals and look up Professor Red Pill. But thanks, guys, for a wonderful evening. Thanks, Adam, for joining us from Liberty Rising, and good night.